Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the all-new Transformers Legacy, Kickback. Kickback's an exciting figure because this is the first time that one of our classic Insecticons has been released as a Deluxe class figure. Previously to this, the only versions we've had are the original Generation 1 toy and then a Legends class toy. Now, some people might count the Fall of Seibertron figure, but seeing as he was released as a different character and not the G1 toy, not really counting him, though that is an awesome toy. So, if you've seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at Kickback's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll see his instructions, and then we'll see Kickback himself in both Insect and Robot modes. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Kickback comes in your standard Legacy Deluxe packaging. Get our half window showing the toy off right here. You get some artwork of Kickback's Insect mode right there. And it looks like he's actually firing things from his little purple energon blades. So I guess they can be considered, range weapons too. Your branding, all that. You get his name. And then on the side, you get a far off and close-up shot of Kickback's robot mode. It looks very, very nice. You get his name here in Ancient Autobot. And then on the back, we get renders of the toy, which look pretty faithful to the finished product, from what I can tell. You can see the Beast mode and Robot modes. He only takes 14 steps to transform, but that's not very surprising because this toy is doing its best to emulate the design and transformation of the original, so he can only be so complex. Down here, you get your QR code to scan into the website to get a little bit of information about Kickback. For anyone wondering what these letters here say, this actually just says scan, so it's just telling you to scan it. And then over here, as I had kind of guessed it would be the case, we get the Decepticon half of the greater legacy wallpaper artwork serving as the side panel. So, the Autobots have the Autobot half that have Optimus and Hot Rod and Blaster and all that. And then the Decepticons are going to get Megatron, Dragstrip, Iguanus, Skywarp, and Kickback here. So all very cool. I actually like the idea that we're getting, two different bits of side panel art instead of just the one bit of artwork for the entire line for this whole year. I think that just mixes things up and makes them a bit more interesting. Here we get Kickback's instructions. So you get a render of the toy on the front, his name, all your branding. Open this up. We get a little how-to for lifting up his wings out of the package, showing you how to have him wield his blaster in his hands and attach his energon blades to his forearms, or alternatively, place the blaster on his back and have him wield the blades like swords. Now, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a actual storage place for the blades in robot mode. You just kind of have to hang off his forearms there. There's nowhere in the back to store them. I guess you can put him on his wings if you don't mind having him up there. And then we get the transformation from robot to, is it Locust or Grasshopper mode? Not entirely sure. One or the other. So there's that. And then we get a little bit more weapon placement. Shows you can place his blaster right here under his belly, and then place the blades alongside his wings to help beef him out. And you get this really cool little action pose render right here at the end. So the instructions, I'd say, are pretty good. Cover everything you need to know about this guy. And now we get Kickback's Beast mode. And I have to say, this thing looks incredibly true to the Generation 1 toy. All the details seem to line up almost exactly. And you'll see the way he transforms is very, very faithful to the original. I like this. It's something that very much respects the source material and then just improves on it. Greater posability, all that. He is quite a bit bigger than the original toy. The original toy is actually more about the size of a core Legends size figure. So he is a lot bigger, but that just means that his robot mode will scale a lot better with your other toys. We can see the extra blades on the wings here, which are very, very nice looking. I'm going to go ahead and take these off just to show them to you. They're not just straight purple. They actually have a little bit of a clear gradient here toward the base, which I think makes them look a lot cooler. Now, it might just be that way because you have to plug these bits in, and then I want the coloring coming off. I'm not sure, but either way, I think it makes for a nice effect. And then you see the wings themselves. And one thing that was changed, and it's a fairly small change, but they were given an insect wing pattern on them instead of just being like flat with a couple little like metallic plate lines here. I don't mind this. I wouldn't call it like an unnecessary change or a bad change in any way. It's just a little bit of texturing added into the wings to make them a bit more interesting looking. I really do think it just fleshes out the base design and makes it more interesting. Alright, so then we see, you know, the front legs work the way that they used to. The little blaster on the belly, you can choose to keep it there if you want. I think it, you know, looks pretty cool being there, but if you don't want it there for like purity's sake, you know, go ahead and move it. Now here's the one thing that I'd say 100% is an improvement. So they actually kept the head transformation the same, where the insect head is really just the robot head facing down, and you just kind of lift the antennas up. But unlike the original toy, where you just had his face just hanging out down there, looking down at the ground, they have this black panel that just swings up and fits perfectly over the face to hide it away. So now, you know, you get to have that faithful transformation that doesn't cheat, but still get something that could be aesthetically pleasing and not look, you know, quite as wonky as the original toy. So far, absolutely loving everything about this. It's incredibly faithful looking, great detail, more posable than the old one. You can get these front legs to like rotate around if you need to make them look a little more dynamic there. It can go out a little bit, though I wouldn't recommend it because then it's just kind of face planting. These can move around a lot. The wings can move too, so you can reposition them as you see fit. And it's just, it's good. It's really good. Almost, you know, like high-end third-party good, and this is just a deluxe class toy. I gotta say, so far, I'm very impressed. Now we get our first comparison shot for the video, and this is with the Titans Return Legends class kickback. Unfortunately, I don't have the original G1 toy, just never managed to obtain one, so I can't really show that off and compare it for you. But based on photos I've seen, I can tell you that this guy is almost the exact same size as the original. So, kind of funny how, as far as toy scale, this guy actually comes closer to getting the right, you know, size and everything. But in the cartoon, the Insecticons were roughly as big as your other standard-sized Transformers, so I think it makes sense to size them up into the Deluxe class. Alright, so now, this Titans Return one, I like it. I think it's a very good figure. It does a lot differently. It doesn't stick to the old transformation. For one, it has its own dedicated insect head that slides over the robot head. So, you know, makes it a bit more realistic looking, which you may like, you may not. If you're looking for something that, you know, is G1 accurate, it does throw it off a little bit. He also uses separate insect legs instead of, you know, having the arms split apart and everything. And then the robot arms actually form a thorax in the back. So he's just kind of doing his own thing. I think he's very good. I see him more as like a reimagining of the classic design than like an update to it. So I don't think it's a bad toy in any way. It's very cool in its own right. But now we get something that really just scratches that nostalgic itch a little bit more. One thing that this guy actually does that this one doesn't is he has an opening cockpit right there, just like the original toy, because they were, you know, Diaclone toys. This one, it's made to look like the cockpit opens. It actually has like a little hinge here, but it doesn't. In fact, if you look right here, it's like permanently slotted into the main abdomen area. So, yeah, it doesn't actually open. It's just made to resemble the original cockpit, which is a shame. I'm not sure why they went that route, why they didn't just give you a functioning door on the top. And heck, you could, you know, fit it for Titan Masters or something. I mean, this guy can see them, so I don't know why they gutted it. I don't know if it was a budget thing or just an artistic choice. Maybe they just felt, you know, because it was never used in the cartoon, it just wasn't worth including, and the best they were going to do is just homage it. I'm not sure. And now it's time to transform our kickback. So if you haven't already, remove his accessories. And we're going to take the toy, stand him up here. You're going to turn these little insect feet around and then swing all this up inside, like so. Same thing here. Flip his feet down. that. Bring the wings up. You're going to take this black panel, flip it all the way in, turn the head around, and readjust his antennae. They're just facing forward a bit. Then you're going to put his arms back together, flip the fists out, and then bring these forward. Like all this. That's it. Pretty simple, right? And you pose them up however you want to do that. Make them look good. Actually need to bring my camera up because his wings are so tall. There we go. All right, and here it is. This is Kickback's robot mode. And I think it looks phenomenal. It looks just like Generation 1 Kickback. Really, I love this thing. It's very, very solid looking. It's got like no empty areas, no hollow parts at all. Everything just lines up the way it should. Look at this. It's perfect. It's got a ball-jointed head, which is nice. It's got the universal shoulders, which actually turn completely independently from the wings. I was worried with these kind of being stacked like this that it would cause the wings to turn. No, I don't have that issue one bit. They stay in place perfectly. So they can rotate, go up and down. He's got a single bend elbow that goes very, very deep. He's got a bicep swivel. He does not, unfortunately, have wrist swivel. That's just because of the way the wrists are built and how they have to spin around on this axle there. There's a full waist swivel, universal hips, thigh swivel, single bend knees that go to pretty much exactly a 90, and then he has ankle tilt. So, I mean, he's pretty much the whole package. And he looks good. He looks solid. He looks complete. I love this guy. I gotta call him, I think he's the perfect G1 update. I like more so than any I've ever seen. He just does everything he's supposed to. Of course, we can't fully show him off without giving him his weapons. So, you can take his blaster and put it in his hand here. Give him that classic look. And you can just leave him that way if you want to keep him like purely Generation 1. Or if you want to utilize his blades, you can attach them here on the forearms. The instructions tell you to attach them with the little pegs here facing backwards, which I think looks better aesthetically anyway. So you can just kind of get them on there as either like a storage or a form of, attack mode where you can just wield these things on his forearms and swing them around at you. So that looks very nice. Or if you want to go a little bit more melee combat, take these off for a sec. Put his blaster here on his back. It just goes in nice and perfect like that. And then you just give him the swords to wield. So place one in each hand, like this. And now he looks like he's ready to face you in close quarters. I mean, I love this thing. I really do. It's just, he's so good. The tolerances are perfect. The accessories are really, really cool. I don't know what more you could ask for here. I'm really gushing over this guy. And now here's our robot comparison with the Titans Return toy. And you can see our new figure just absolutely towers over his Prime Wars equivalent. And looks so much better. Again, really good toy. I'm not bashing it at all. For a Legends class toy, I think he's one of the best that came out of Prime Wars. Really, one of the best Legends class toys ever. Very solid mold. But, now you can see what you can do with a bigger size and a bigger budget. Because this guy just absolutely nails it. I mean, just captures the look of the original Insecticon perfectly. So while I personally would have been satisfied with the Legends class Insecticons that we received throughout Thrilling 30 and Prime Wars, because they are appropriately sized, at least as far as the toys are concerned, and all three of them, do quite a good job of representing the characters from Generation 1. I mean, they just really pale in comparison to this. Like, I didn't know I needed this until I got it. I'm like, I needed this. This guy is perfect. It's really giving me high expectations for any upcoming Insecticons that we may receive in Legacy and beyond. Because if they updated this to this so well, I have full faith that they can do it at least 2 more times. Now that does, of course, beg the question, are we going to get the classic Deluxe Insecticons? You know, Venom, Chop Shop, Ransack, all that. I don't know. They've been very few and far between. The only one we've received any proper update for was Chop Shop in the form of a Legends class retool of Shrapnel. So I don't know if they will. I'd love for them to do it. I would love for those characters to finally get the Generations treatment, like a proper one. But we'll have to wait and see. They may have some issues with certain names, like Venom, because that name is kind of sort of being held by a very prominent Marvel character at the moment. And I mean, they might be able to work out a deal with Marvel because they do license, you know, their characters and stuff for the Marvel Legends series. So who knows? Maybe they could come to an agreement, because I don't want them to call him Venom again like they did for that weird little Target Master thing. Though I would still prefer to get a renamed character than no character at all. So we'll just have to wait and see. But this has me pretty excited. And this completes our look at the brand new Transformers Legacy Kickback. I think it's very safe to say that this is my favorite new mold from Legacy so far. The last few I've looked at, RC I really didn't like. I think she has too many issues. And Skids, I do find myself liking, though he does have some pretty glaring flaws. This guy to me is just perfection. I can't think of anything about him that bothers me in the least. He does everything that I hope for when it comes to a Generation 1 update. You know, keeping it faithful to the original design, keeping the scheme of the transformation intact, not cheating the transformation, which is something that has been a massive issue, at least in my opinion, throughout like War for Seibertron and now Legacy. They're real big on, you know, the fake parts and all that, and I hate the fake parts. I like keeping the spirit of the original transformation alive and just, you know, improving on it, making it more complex, more posable. This guy does all that. And then he even, you know, goes the added mile of like putting the face guard over the robot face in his beast mode, which fixes like the one thing I didn't like about Kickback's G1 design is, you know, just the robot face hanging out there. So they fixed it. I can't think of anything at all that takes this toy away from perfection for me. He's so cool. He comes with, you know, really neat little extra blades that you can either use or not use. I'm very, very happy with this toy. So if you're out there, they're showing up at Targets mostly right now. Amazon did get RC and Skids in, but for some reason, Kickback and can't think of his name, Dragstrip, sorry, they are still showing like July timeframe, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. You'd think they'd all be in a case together. But if you can track one of these down at your local Target or whatever, I highly, highly recommend this toy. Like, if you're a fan of the G1 Insecticons, which, I mean, who isn't? Seriously. If you're not, there's something wrong with you. You're going to love this guy because he does everything that you're going to want a G1 Kickback to do. So, yeah, go out there, track him down. You'll be very satisfied with this toy. Of course, that is just my opinion on Kickback, so now I want to know what you all think of this toy. Do you think he's as flawless as I consider him, or do you think I'm giving the toy way too much credit? Maybe you see some issues that I'm just not seeing, or, you know, some other reason you may not want to pick up this toy. Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this very, very cool look at the new Transformers Legacy Kickback. And with all that said, I will see you next time.